And welcome back to Spring, Sweet Spring, when we're getting into our final matchup of the day. 3 of our quarterfinal action has been played out, and now our 4th matchup. We'll see whether the final invitee squad could still make it through towards our semi-finals. We have only seen one of them make it through so far. I genuinely believed that we'd see the likes of Spirit going all the way to the grand finals, but being upset by Forza a short hour ago leaves them up to face on the winner of our final series. FURIA taking on the Sinners, and hopefully this one should be a little bit more decisive for my mind here, Dweg.
You'd hope so. It's been a rough day for the invited teams today. They have not had it easy at all. And FURIA, I mean, what more can you say about this team? Tier 1 level team, moved over to Europe and have been here for a little while now. And while their results haven't been completely fantastic, this is their event to win, really.
Yeah, I'd say so too. I think that they've been in that position like a lot of the Tier 1 teams that come to this tournament where they haven't been able to hit the highs that they really want to. You take a look back to 2020 and 2019, especially that breakout year for this team when they established themselves as a definitive Tier 1 squad, and you realise that so far here in Europe during their run in 2021, it's been a little bit hit and miss, to say the least. They've got a couple of decent placings. They've gone consistently high in tournaments, but they've never hit those like top 4, top 2 championship level decisive positions that they have done in previous results. So for them, a case of victory here is almost a must win. You know, it's a must win kind of tournament for a team like FURIA, for my money. And I think you'd probably be inclined to agree, given the fact that they are competing at the S tier level of Counter-Strike.
When you look at all the other teams that are invited here, like for Ants, it's like, okay, you have a loss. Results have been shaky as it is. We know that even in the tier 2 level, it hasn't been great. Fnatic, you can kind of say the same. They've just brought in a 6-man. They're still having some role changes. For FURIA, I don't think there's any excuse if they go out. Like, this is for them a tournament in which they have to perform at. And we've seen tier 1 teams come down here really looking to be able to try and give it their all. But at least on the other side, we do have Sinners. And for them, they have been grinding hard. They've been playing like a massive amount of tournaments. They've been playing like over 130 maps in the last 3 months. And for them, they've never played a team at this kind of caliber.
Not to my knowledge, at least. I mean, they've been going quite far in Snow Sweet Snow during the last few months, and they've been able to make runs into the top 12, but this is the first time they've actually broken out of that top 12 position. So for them, the case really is, you know, is there further to go in this particular case? Definitely looking at this one as FURIA being definitive favourites, because they've just got that international experience that Sinners haven't done. Like you mentioned, this is probably the most difficult roster they've faced so far in this one, but they've shown some really promising potential, Drake. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about how this team has gotten here so far?
They're an incredible team. It is really what it is. And it does show that time is a big factor because these guys have been together for a while. They added Oscar towards the back end of last year, just before Christmas, and it just gets elevated. He really starts bringing home championships for some of those guys. They start getting some high placements. I think they're making playoffs in pretty much every single tournament they're playing in. Yeah, maybe they're not consistently getting those like top 4, top 8 finishes, but at least they're making the playoffs. And as well, Neofrag has just come into his own. The last 3-6 months, he's been playing at an incredibly high level. But for Sinners, it's being able to get towards the heights and push it further is the big question for them, whether they're going to be able to do it or not.
Yeah, they've yet to get a big tournament win at the B and A tier level of events. So, and whether this can be the first one, I have my doubts as to whether that is, again, the case of experience against the other teams that are also on the other side of the branch here in the bracket. You've got to remember that there's still some very staunch opposition, even if they can get through FURIA. And I feel like FURIA, they themselves are going to probably be the ones to win this series in a 2-0 fashion. Just before we get into that veto, I have my doubts on the Sinners side, but let's see whether the Sinners can actually win out on that first face of the matchup itself. Of course, Matt Picks coming into Egg, break this down for me.
Yeah, well, straight away, we know like how strong of a Vertigo team the Sinners side are, and they're picking straight into it. They're probably one of the best Vertigo teams that we have in all the Tier 2 CS right now, so it's a really good map for them to get under their skin. Inferno coming through from FURIA as well. We've seen them play it a lot recently up against Complexity in the Dream Map Masters event, having a pretty decent performance there, having a really good T-sides as of late. So I think in terms of the first couple of maps of this veto, do favour both teams pretty well.
Yeah, pretty strong sort of comfort picks. The issue for Vertigo for me on the Sinner side is that it's also known to be a relatively okay map for the FURIA side. We know obviously that they've got a few tricks up their sleeve on that, knowing especially in the case of that boost that they pioneered over on the alley entrance. So there's a couple of things that FURIA can do, and in that respect, I think map 2 could be close. I think it's the one thing that Sinners can get in this series though, because I think that just in terms of pound for pound potential, there's a lot more that favours the FURIA side, and even though you could potentially win a map veto above them, still a good chance they're going to be able to beat you anyway in the best of 3 overall.
Yeah, it does. It does come down to that. I think for Sinners, like I'm sure they're going to be trying to do their homework as much as they can going into this game. We know that they had a pretty good Swiss stage. Actually, they beat Young Ninjas and Apex. Wasn't really too much of a fight there. Did go down to Apex, but then they beat Extra Salt, and that one was the key one for me to kind of say, okay, what are they going to be able to do against the North American teams? We know that Extra Salt's been in Europe for about a month or so now. They were sort of a team that I think a lot of people expected to go quite far into the playoffs. Didn't even make the playoffs. So for Sinners, I think that a lot of people are going to write them off in this series, but I reckon they're actually going to do a lot better than what most people think.
I think that's almost a bit of a given, honestly, with this team. Like, they're going to do things that people don't really expect them to do. Like, take a look at this roster on paper, and you don't think they would be in a position here in spring. You know, you don't think that they'll be here in the playoffs. You might think that maybe they make the Mel's main Swiss at best. But even then, that's probably, you know, as far as anyone could realistically think to go. So just to describe exactly how much of a rising force this team has been, like they have been able to go over some really, really big results. But again, a couple of things missing from them in terms of trophy wins and top 4 placements at the A-tier level. So this can be their first chance to crack at least one of those, maybe even both of them. They've got to get through FURIA, Dwayne, and with that matchup, with this matchup about to go live, I want to ask you for predictions. For me, I'm going to go FURIA. I think it can go 2-0. I think Vertigo will be a struggle, but I think it can go in a 2-map affair.
I'm going to go 2-1 up for FURIA. I've got a reasonable expectation that Sinners are going to be able to take Vertigo, but let's see exactly how this cracks down. Going into Inferno, FURIA's map pick to start the series off. Bit of an info play coming through from Oscar, just looking out towards second mid. A very heavy B-lean to start off from Sinners.
And taps up Oscar. Looking to lean towards the mid control and trying to look and solve them in towards the banana position. His art with that opening kill was Beastic. Goes out alone and also goes out of the round. Flash is also turning over to the CT forces. Going to keep them at bay as FURIA just wrap back over into the mid play. They've drawn so much attention towards this B site that it's only going to rest on Oscar. Here into the apartments, got to take face and taps. Flash is forcing him out of position. Fight on Yuri, overcooking those flicks quite severely, and eventually Art will find the flank to get a 5-on-3 scenario.
This is going to be a really difficult retake for Sinners, and they might as well just maybe save onto the Kevlar and to the kit they have. Like, winning a 3 versus 5 in a situation like this is pretty much near impossible, and yeah, they're throwing in the towel straight away. They're opting just to go in for the save, hold on to what they have. FURIA, they made the right call there. We saw that Sinners had a very gambly style in that pistol round. They brought 4 players over towards the top of Banana. Oscar was the lone defender out from A, and distractions were being pulled away. He was in the apartments, trying to look out towards a short position, gets picked off from Apps itself, and really, once he falls, that round is finished from there.
And big pistol to take here for FURIA, putting Sinners on the back foot immediately on this first map of the series. Of course, one of 7 maps in a win streak for FURIA if they can maintain this one to go. They've been able to take 3 2-0s against the likes of Pain and Complexity and Vitality in recent times, and you can make your own observations about some of those teams involved, but right now they're off on the right foot and on their map pick. Inferno just leans itself towards the FURIA favor right now. Force fight back in from Sinners.
This is their chance to kind of show what they've got to offer when it comes to the force buy, but even with FURIA, for them, they've got a lot of SMGs out looking to see if they can farm up a bit of cash. Nade stack up towards the top of Banana is just going to drive Beastic away. Counter nade even coming in. Art pretty much evades the majority of the damage.
Tagged minimally. Flash is going over. Deagle tapping a Neo. Frag damage done to Art. The Mac 10 in case Serato gets his kill involved. Jumps around the corner, sees where Neo Frag is at, and the Deagle responds to a 4-on-4. Racing in towards the site itself, hoping for a little bit more contact in face. Art will catch the kill from Oscar in the midst of the smoke. Easy picks being found. Neo Frag winning next to full shot, goes falling quickly after the fact. And Zedko left alone. 1-on-4 for him, just no chance available.
And when we talk about experience too, from pound to pound, you've got to wonder whether nerves is going to be a factor at all for the Sinner side. Yeah, we know that Oscar's played at tier 1 level, but for the rest of these guys, they've been in the tier 2 and even lower for their entire careers. Like, there isn't another player on this team that's even had experience playing at the top. Their only experience, I guess, has got to be more recently in the tier 2 scene of them trying to break into the top 30. But again, even some of the teams that they've been playing, they haven't played a tier 1 team as of yet. They've had some results against, you know, the Anonymo, the Scades, the ex-Windstrike guys, kind of the top end of tier 2, but never that bridge to the next level. So this is going to be a challenge that the Sinners have never had to face before. And you've got to wonder what is up for grabs for them, at least when it comes to that force buy in the second round. Didn't find a lot of success there, so light eco going into the third.
Yeah, only that Kevlar for Zedco and the upgrade pistol on him and Shock. One piece of investment for the CT forces, but that is about it for Sinners. Straight into the banana control again with a heavy stack, a complete stack actually towards the B side. All 5 players out there. No one's even having any sort of contact or potential on rotations. Back over on the base side, and Art and Vinny combined to get a couple of decent picks in. Only 1 kill on the SMG. The MP7 does get responded to. The default showing up. They've done so much here. Yuri all alone. Sinners doing severe damage on this. One-on-one as he finds the even trade. Putting that nade on the Zedco, seeing the shoulder bait. Close range against him. He goes back behind the stack, so he evades most of the damage here, but it comes up to 1 good bullet at this stage for either player. Spray on. Finally, Yuri gets it together, but still 4 casualties taken.
Oh, you started to believe for a minute there that just pistols started getting so much impact so quickly out of nowhere. That looked to be pretty much a throwaway round. There wasn't many upgrades, but they end up getting away with 4 kills overall. And the FURIA side there up on screen, boot camping as well. It seems like a lot of teams are starting a boot camp now. I guess with restrictions being a little bit eased in the current landscape in Europe, Jay, it allows a lot more teams to play together rather than sort of at their own homes online.
Just waiting for that moment when we get back to LAN and we can actually play together for real. We're about as close as we can get without actually being at LAN, so I'm okay with this.
Yeah.
But for now, FURIA just working on getting the setup going into the mid control definitively this time, not playing it towards the B lane. The AWP is going to be smoking off that incendiary down towards Cubby. Zedco giving up his angle, spraying back, doing damage to Art. Swung upon by Vinny, gets that headshot in. 1 player back of the quad pillar. I think HE got majority of the T-side members. It's not going to stop Vinny getting that secondary kill on Shock though. So now A side's open. They've only got the 1 player at Arch and backup rotating. But Sinners decide, actually, you know what? This isn't worth it.
And you're starting to see pretty much straight away in this series, like, just the clear difference in terms of these teams. And that was kind of the thing that scared me the most, is FURIA just come out, they play their own game, and Sinners just get slapped. And that's kind of what's happening on the City side. The nade placement in towards brackets was impressive. It lands down onto a massive amount of damage. Vinny gets tagged up, Art gets tanked. Even Caserado takes a little bit, and Junior too, but just look at those entries. At the T side, just start swinging out from brackets, and Zedco and Chop just, they can't even find trades. They can't even find a way to just pick off between one another. 4-0 start for FURIA. And on their map pick, if they can continue momentum, then this will look really good for the Brazilians. And you've got to imagine as well, like Junior coming into this team, I think there's been a lot of hype, sort of him coming into it to sort of be like, ooh, you know, what's happening here? We've got a Brazilian team, but we've got a North American coming in, and we're going to translate over to English. And I think the one thing that FURIA really need in their travel over towards Europe is just a tournament win. I feel like that one tournament win is just that kickstarter to getting back to the form that we saw from them last year playing in NA.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Case of working through those issues, and I feel like that the communication they've had to, the transition of communication styles probably has affected them a little bit. And it feels like that Junior coming in, well, it has been a positive pickup in terms of the team potential and the actual elements of the roster. It feels like the FURIA are just a little bit less coordinated to me. Part of that might be down to the intricacies of, again, swapping between Portuguese and English, but it's all very small intricacies here for the FURIA side. Right now, none of those issues are cropping up. 4-0 above Sinners, and Rifles are back in for round 5. Passive control is standard. Finally, 1 player flashes forward, gets so much damage to Caserado, but still the teams went out the opening fight.
And they're looking to fight again. Another flash over the corner. Zedco peeks back in, but still the trades are good here from FURIA. Sinners are doing everything to push aggressively towards Banana, and now in a position where B-Sticks are alone over at the B side, and no one is even close to rotating.
We've got 2 smokes, smoke cross and coffins, and then 2 mollies, 3 mollies actually they can put down on the site itself. So B-Stick, if they set themselves up right, he could just get forced out into the open and allow the kill to come in easy for the Rifles. Art is checking the coffin's angle, and yeah, they will go back to set up those smokes One cross, one coffins, Molotov back over at Nubox. Beastie will get forced out into the open as well as the one played out towards first. Flash in, Shock's going to consider forcing forward as Beastie gets detected, sprays through, damage being done on both sides, but a 3-on-2 favors FURIA for the man advantage.
Yeah, flash over the top, try and get Oscar a little bit of space with that AWP, but even for Art, he's aggressing out towards CT. He wants to take the fight. Oscar gets a trade back to a 2v2, but they don't know about Art's aggression.
On top. Boost spot position, flashing over. Do they check Art's angle? No, they don't. And gets the kill in alongside Yuri. Nice and efficient there for the two last players there from the FURIA camp. Could have been a little bit dicey with Art being low HP, but with them holding themselves confident in the back lines. And, well, they went for the perfect execute right there. You know, the smoke's down, suppressing the CTs from rotating very quickly. The Molotovs perfectly placed to drive one player out into the open. And they continue to put up rounds here on the FURIA board. Nothing scored by Sinners so far in this game. 5-0. And I believe that actually they're going to go for another force up here, the CT side, of just continuously buying down round after round. 2 SMGs for this one, though, so it's definitely not defined.
Yeah, they probably realized how close that last round was and know that all they need is just a couple of opening frags and maybe they'll turn it into a round victory. This time around, they've actually taken the approach of getting aggressive towards Nana, trying to take it completely. Nade goes back onto towards Beastic's position, resmoke coming through, and for FURIA, they're still trying to put more utility to force him out.
Nades are successful on the center side, though. They've done damage to Art and Serato. That counter onto Zedco lands directly on him. They're going to hear that body block. Flashing in, catching Vinny, just blind firing to buy himself some breathing room to escape. Back up into hard cover and some of FURIA. That bomb alongside two other T-side players is still behind the stairs.
Yeah, even though we're seeing a lot of HE damage from both these sides, look at the util now for Sinners. They've got nothing. All they've got is flashes left, and they're in a position where they took aggressive banana control early rounds. Now they've gone passive. Oscar's looking for a little bit of a way in for mid, and he's already been jiggle peaked.
Yuri trying to catch the angle, makes a little bit of noise there in the apartments and fired back. And Orp still holds his position as he gets out into the site itself. 30 seconds, and the second player has rotated towards the B play. Smokes and flashes are going down to draw them in, potentially try it by a third man to rotate, and they're considering it here. Spray through Art, yeah, that's
fake.
drawn two individuals. Oscar thinks better of it, though. Looks in, catches Vinny as Neofrag goes down. Might be a lurker, all got a catch on Shock. Yuri is dealt with, 10 seconds. They're going to act right now. That bomb's going to get right here towards the site. They're still just making their way on the short presence. The AWP sees the bomb carrier, drops the bomb for the last time in this round. Sinners will hold the defense and get there first.
Yeah, FURIA looking to just overcomplicate things in that last round. It seems like for them, they've got everything right. They're baiting out over rotations, but it's just too slow. And for Sinners, the one thing that really helps them is it looked like for a moment, two players were leaving long, going through Arch towards Speedway. Oscar stays around for that split second, peeks in and just checks the angle out towards brackets, gets that pick off, tells his teammate who's playing anchor to stay in the apartments. They slow the round down. Sinners pick up their first, and FURIA, they just dangle with the time.
Despite that win for the Sinners camp, they've still got a little bit of money problems in this next buyback. SMGs on two individuals, but countering with aggression and nades. Serato again tagged very heavily. Start of this round as they make their way forward to the smokes. Flashbang in for Neofrag. It's going to allow Beastie to swing. C2 players, perfect 2 frags. And the M4 Neofrag lines up a couple, only gets one of them. In a 3-on-2 scenario, though, is still very workable here for the Sinners camp. They've got to smoke down that cross. Orp doesn't fire. They're crossing at the bomb plant.
There's no kit in play here for the Sinners side, but they do have the 3 versus 2. And for Oscar, he's just got to wait to see if the T's press him out towards CT or construction. He's got to wait for the assistance to come through from Banana.
Take their time with it, keeping their eyes on all corners. They've got a little bit antsy and checking the wood stack. Vinny tries to freaking bait in Oscar, or at least see information to him. Smoke on Coffins, he's going to get ahead of it. Spray not good enough. Or left the junior in the back. Trying to get the smoke out here. Burning a 20 or about. So much work to do. Look on that first player is good here. Blind in the midst of the smoke. The Incendiary is continuing to face forward. Knows exactly where that bomb is. Blind fire. Got to get Zedco. Got to swing on Zedco. Sees him, but Shock holds the line and just gets the kill in the right moment. Junior a hair's breadth away from winning that round, but it's a second to the ball of Sinners.
And they're keeping it close now. They're keeping it competitive. Good to see that Sinners are starting to find a little bit of form. They see Honda, the 6th man, sitting behind them, and Gary, their coach, as well. Everyone here for the FURIA side, hands on deck to come into this matchup. And we kind of talked about it a little bit in the pregame, Jay. This is the first time that Sinners have ever been in the quarterfinals in the Home Sweet Home series. So for them as well, this has got to pump them up even further to say, right, boys, we've never been here before. Let's make sure we go even further.
Nades on the back line. Fury and Serato get those two players to drop. A good start. Shock can trade it, but now it's being forced back by Serato and Co. Neofrag on the site, seeing where the last player is, and will just get himself domed instead. AWP Oscar, no idea of where the T-side presence is. He's watching for a gap in the smoke. Flashbang in. Good kill for R, and they are just picking apart the CT side. Last is left in Shock. Got that one exit out towards the apartments, but that's as far as it goes.
The thing that scares me the most is that Neofrag isn't performing to the level he is. I think that he's been a player recently who's been very underrated and not really talked about a massive amount. I mean, he's the 4th highest rated player in the last 3 months in the world, and he's played 131 maps. I mean, it's ridiculous to think how much impact he's been able to find. Even Choc just being left that can't even save onto his weapon, so no rifles being saved into round 9. But if anyone has got to be here to perform for Sinners, it's got to be their 2 stars. It's got to be Neofrag and Oscar. And it seems like, for the most part, it's actually
Well, FURIA pretty handily beating Sinners indicates positive things for them going forward into the second map. It was FURIA's map pick on Inferno. Vertigo is picked in by the Sinners, but to say this is not a great map for FURIA is a bit of a lie, to say the least, here, Dwayne. So I have fears as to where the Czech team's going to go from this. They've got to get themselves started with a pistol round. They're on the T side to kick things off here, and Beastic will round that corner first, immediately dealt